What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Paint Society, the channel where the learning doesn't stop when the video ends. As you can see, we're not in our regular shop. We're over here at Bodie Vision, right out of Orlando, Florida, and we're ready to paint this Miata right now. So let's get started. All right, so this job over here, you know, it's not going to be that real high-end job. I feel like this job can kind of relate to a lot of my subscribers at home. You guys just want to put a coat of paint on your older car. You don't care if it comes out beautiful, but maybe you have 3 or 4 different colors on the car and you just want it one color. So today in the video, we're going to discuss where do we start on the vehicle? Do we start in the back? Do we start at the front? Do we start at the top, the bottom? Do I need to use a sealer? What's the reason for using a sealer? We're also going to discuss the flash times. How much time do I wait in between coats? Do I need to clean up my gun? And lastly, we're going to discuss a little bit about cleaning and how to do the jams and that type of thing. And we got our couple guys right here. Thanks again, Bodie, for letting me use your shop.
What's up, man?
And then we have Custom Cars and Collision. Say what's up.
What's up, guys?
He's starting his channel. We'll put his link in the back. And you know, Bodie means a lot to me because I came here with 189 subscribers and he exposed me. So I'm trying to...
On the Hellcat.
Yeah, on the Hellcat Miata.
Like a year ago, too.
Yep, so I'm just trying to pass that along.
Yeah,
You're gonna do really good with your custom work. So I'll put that information in there and hopefully we can all learn together. So let's go ahead and let's get started. Okay, so Bodie's ready to mix the sealer and we get so many questions. Brian, how do I mix my sealer base and clear? Well, you need to check out your technical data sheets because in those sheets, it's gonna tell you due to the manufacturer how they want you to mix it. So for this particular one, Bodie, it mixes
4 to 1 to 1.
Okay, and he knows that because it'll either say on the side of the can or in the technical data sheets. You can ask the paint manufacturer and they'll tell you. Says it right there?
Yep.
Even better, okay? So what you're gonna do from that point is you're gonna get one of these cups and no matter what brand, they're all the same. They have the ratios on the sides here. So if you take a look right here, we've got 1 to 1, 1.5, 1 to 70. I don't see that often. 2 to 1 and so on and so forth. So here we have found 4 to 1 to 10 to 1. Well, that's kind of confusing. We're looking for 4 to 1 to 1. Not to worry. The first one we're going to mix up. We're going to do a full amount here. So the highest we can go is up to 6. So we'll find 6 and we'll fill that with sealer. Then our next product is going to be our hardener. So we'll go up to the next 6. Now, we're not worried about 10%, which is right here. So we're going to completely ignore that. And we're going to go up to the next 6, which is going to be probably our reducer. Okay, I'm going to show you that right now. Okay, so as you can see, we have 4 to 1 to 1. Ignore that 10%. So we brought it up to our first 6. Now he's going to pour in that hardener to the next 6, the 1 component. All right, and if you go over by just a little bit, it's okay, but he did a perfect pour. Now, let's ignore that 10%, and now we're gonna go up to the next one, which is going to be our reducer, up to that final 6. And then we have a properly mixed sealer according to the technical data sheet and mixing ratio. So I get asked all the time, can I just put base right over there? Yes, of course you can, but you're gonna be there all day spraying base. Now, what a sealer is gonna do is gonna take all of these colors and it's gonna make them one. We've got primer, we've got scuffed clear coat in blue, red, we have more primer. We're gonna put a gray sealer on this whole entire car. Now, some of you might think, well, why are you putting a different color on there? Kind of sounds like we're working in a reverse manner. And although that might make sense to you, what I'm about to show you in a little bit is blue or any other color is going to cover 100 times easier if it has a solid, even foundation. Now we talk about dirt. You say, Brian, I get dirt all in my clear coat. But you didn't know that the dirt was there the whole time. It only shows up in your clear coat. So your sealer is your most important part. Make sure we tack that whole entire car. We're gonna use a brand new tack rag. We're gonna go starting from the top down, and then we're gonna start to spray our sealer from the front of the car, moving all the way towards the back, which I'll show you in just a moment here. All right, so before we get the sealer, let's attack the car from the front. Now we have our inlet where the air's coming in from this side. We have our exhaust on the other side. So when we paint this car, when we clean this car, we're always gonna start from the beginning, the front, and move towards the back so that all the exhaust and all the paint and overspray gets carried over the whole entire car. If we were to paint from the back, okay, and move forward as we were painting the front, all the overspray would fall into our new paint and it would land dry and look really bad. And that's actually a good tip for a lot of you. So when we go to clean, we're actually gonna start at the beginning. We're gonna go ahead and make it wet. And then we're gonna wipe in one direction over the whole entire car, pulling up all those contaminants. And this is very important. You should have already washed the car down with a degreaser of some sort. And you're gonna come here with your solvent and then your water-based cleaners. Now, a lot of you guys might get confused because sometimes you're going over to Walmart or your local hardware store and you're getting just your regular plastic, and that's going to get you into trouble. See, that plastic's not treated, so when you go ahead and paint it and that paint dries and when you go to spray your base or your clear, what's going to end up happening is it's going to flake. You need a plastic that's automotive based, meant for painting cars. And what it's going to have on one side, it's going to say paint this side, okay? And that's the side that's going to be on the exterior, and that side is actually treated, so it actually holds the overspray, so you're never going to get yourself into trouble, and there's no need ever to put paper right up to the edge. All plastic, a lot quicker, cleaner job, in my opinion. All right, so we got Bodie. He's ready to spray. He's got the light on, and I really like that. How are you liking it so far? Pretty good?
Yeah, I feel like the light is going to make all the difference. I haven't sprayed with it yet, but that's one thing that I always need.
Yeah. So he's going to start keeping a wet edge. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on one side. We're going to move all the way over, okay? Keep it nice and smooth, all right? Then he's going to do the bottom of the door. Then he's going to bring it all the way over to the middle of the roof, and then I'm going to take it over there and move to the other side. So he's keeping about 16 PSI on the DV1. You can't run that pressure on any other gun. And he's keeping a wet edge, about 75% overlap. You can actually see where you're spraying with that light. It's really, really good. Make sure those coats are wet. We already tacked off the car, and he is keeping wet, nice, even coats. If he were to spray this dry, then that would introduce dirt because that would be grittiness in the paint. All right, so as you can see, Bodie, great job. You got that sealer down so far. Now we're gonna continue that wet edge. You got all the way over here. I'm gonna go on the other side and bring it around and tie up the rest of the car so we can keep this nice and smooth. So we got our sealer coat on, and so many guys ask, Brian, do I need to clean out my paint coat in between coats? Now let's say you need to put one more coat of sealer on. Well, you would just leave the sealer in a gun, but we're ready to go on the base coat. So we're gonna kind of use this old cup right here, and Eastwood's got this great Aersol injected cleaner, and it's just so good for in between, or even if you really want to fully clean your gun out. It's got a nice nozzle on there, and what you would do is kind of inject it from here, but what I like to do is get all of the paint off first, because then I'm just going to be moving around too much paint with the cleaner, and I want to wipe up as much as I can beforehand. Now check this out. We'll go ahead and put this through here, through the back. We'll give it a wipe, and she's good to go just like that in between coats. Okay, so we got just what we wanted. We got the whole vehicle in one color, and we're gonna use the same exact gun. I know a lot of you guys don't wanna buy a gun for sealer, base, and clear, so we have many options on the market. I recommend W400. I recommend even the CC500, which we're using here, works phenomenal. Also the GTI Pro Light, all great guns, under $350 that will do it all. You buy it once. Good quality, and if I'm looking at this gun, it really reminds me of the Iwata. So what we'll do from here is we'll allow the sealer to flash. Let's give it about a good half hour. Let all those solvents come out. We want to make sure it's nice and dry, and then we're going to put our first base coat on. We're going to assess it and see if we need to nib out any of the dirt chunks, so in the end, when we spray our clear, we have a nice finish. All right, so Bodie's mixing up the base coat. So on this one, it says 2 to 1. You see that right there? So we go ahead and we find 2 to 1 on our actual cup, and here we got 2 to 1. We ignore the 10, the 20, the all that. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna fill it up to the highest amount and then the next highest amount. All right, and what I've done right here is I've marked them off so you guys can see exactly what we're doing. Got that first one going all the way up to the first spot. All right, good job. And now the next one of reducer will go up to the next number. Perfect. Ready to spray base. All right, so we're ready for base. We're gonna put that first coat of base on. We're not gonna go super wet, but medium wet. If we go super wet, sometimes we can get some contamination, even though the sealer's down. So let's introduce that base to the sealer. Let's let that marriage happen, but we don't wanna land too dry. If we put it down too dry, again, grittiness. That's gonna be roughness. That's gonna show through in your clear. Every single layer matters. Now we're gonna attack it in the same way, and Bodie had a good question for me. He's like, Brian, why can't I just paint the whole side first? And I said, well, we need to move all the way over and do the whole entire panel, because to keep that wet edge on a horizontal flat panel is more important than keeping that wet edge on a side panel. So we'll move all the way over once again, and we'll connect over on the top of the roof. This is gonna keep things nice and wet. If Bodie were to go ahead and do the whole side and then we paint the hood, remember, overspray is gonna stop on the freshly painted panels. It's gonna land dry and look gritty, and that's not what we want. So let's go ahead and let's spray some base now. Now we just laid down that first coat of base. Now we didn't do too wet for a reason. Now I'm gonna teach you a tip right here to get smoother, cleaner paint jobs. We have ourselves a 3M soft pad, interface pad, and this is a brand new one. Now you don't need a brand new one, but a clean one is gonna help you a lot, so make sure you blow it off. And then we have over here a 600 grit piece of sandpaper. And what this interface pad is going to do, it's kind of spongy, and it's going to give me some cushion so I'm not digging my fingernails or my fingers into the surface. And I'm just going to run this over the whole surface, and that's going to really smooth up the surface. Any debris that's fallen from the beginning till this point is going to be smoothed off, and we'll show you what it looks like once we go ahead and lightly sand it. We're not really digging into it, and what you'll start to notice is that the tops of your dirt is actually there the whole time, but you never even noticed. It's just now you see it because it's exposed. The whole entire car has been scuffed up with that 600. And Bodie's got his tack rag, just kind of collecting the debris. Now this is a drift car, so yeah, it's gotta look nice, but 100% perfect.
Nah, no way. See, every build is different, and that's not an excuse for us to make it less good of a job. But the fact of the matter is, the first competition, the first time when he goes out with this car, he could wreck this thing. And we just know that going into it. So to make sure that we're perfectly perfect, we're not going for a concourse restoration. We just want to do a nice, good, clean job. And I think we're doing exactly that.
Yeah, let me talk about real quick what I was talking about with these little dust nibs. Now, if we focus in right here, we can see in this area, we have like a little dust nib. And if we come over to over here, that was a dust nib. And all along the whole entire hood, dust nib. And what we've done is we've chopped it off. We've smoothed out any sort of overspray. Now, you typically wouldn't do this, but on an overall, it's gonna help you out a lot. You're gonna have a smoother finish in the end. So from here, we're gonna hit it up with about 2 more coats of base, and then we're gonna see what it looks like and see if it's ready for clear. Yeah, we're ready to do the drop coat. Now, we've been using the CC500 from Eastwood, a very good gun, does it all. We also have the DV1. You're gonna find a little bit bigger fan on here. You're finding a slightly smaller, but both really spray well. I'm gonna go ahead and finish it up with the DV1, just to show you guys you can use a variety of different guns when you're coming to paint a car. All right, with that drop coat, we're gonna divide the car into sections. Remember, through all this, we should be using slow reducer. Remember, slower is gonna give us a nice smooth finish. I'm gonna spray the whole entire front end at around 4 to 5 inches. And then while it's still wet, I'm gonna extend my distance to about 10 to 12 inches. If I were to regularly spray at 10 to 12 inches, it would land dry. But now, since the base is still drying that we're spraying into, it's gonna land smooth. And that further away distance is gonna help us with our streaks. Drop coats help with streaks, especially cheaper paint, okay? So we'll show you that in the drop coat right now on the front end. Okay, so that paint's still wet right away. We can lower a couple pounds if we want. We're gonna increase our distance. If we don't have the correct overlap, that's gonna mean the spaces in our pattern. Those spaces are dry spots. Those dry spots are streaks. We got that and all night, so let's continue on the rest of the car. So we have Astro that's gone ahead and give us our Sunlight, and this light is a fraction of the cost of the Sun Gun from 3M. And what this is going to do is it's going to expose any streaking or areas that need more attention. Now, in order to use this light, you're going to need to turn off your main lights in the shop. And once you have this light on, it's going to emulate the sun's rays. So what might look good in here will not look good when the sun is brightly shining on your brand new paint job. And man, it can be disheartening pulling out the car for the first time and seeing streaks. So what we're looking for with the light is we're looking for any sort of streakiness. We're looking for evenness. And we're also looking to see if we have coverage. And the light will expose any of the flaws so that you can go back and fix them at this particular point. You can really see all of the metallic flakes popping off the surface just like the sun. So what I'll do is I'll go around the whole car, I'll take a look, and based off this, there's a couple spots that I want to fix off camera, so I'll fix those and then we'll be ready for clear coat. All right, so Bodie's mixing up the clear coat, and as he mixes it up, we're gonna go ahead and talk real quick about the process. Now, we've been following the same process for the whole video and the whole car. We've started in the front, we've worked our way all the way over, we've continued over to the door, all the way up, back and around, and finished the rest of the car. We're keeping a wet edge, and it's so essential right now with clear, have a nice glossy finish. Now our first coat that goes on, it doesn't need to be full wet, it doesn't need to be beautiful, it's not gonna be beautiful. We wanna get the paint on there, we wanna connect the dots, make sure we don't have too many dry spots, because if we try to go all out on that first coat, what's gonna happen is we're gonna have some runs. Now once that tacks up, that second coat will hit it up, we can go a little bit harder with it, and we can really dial it in and smooth it out. Now I'm going to use a CC500 for this, going to put it to the test. Haven't really used it over a big surface for clear. I like to run it wide open and fan wide open. We're going to push it around 28 to 29, maybe 30 PSI, see what works for us. We're following overpasses of about 85% with clear. We want tight overpasses so it nicely smooths out. Now we had two options when it comes to our hardener. Now those two options would be our fast hardener and our slow. Well, we're repping about 85 degrees here in the booth, and there's absolutely no reason for us to use the fast hardener. A slow hardener is going to keep those solvents open longer. It's going to allow it to smooth out, to flow out actually after we paint it, and it's going to look a lot better and have better retention. Now if we were doing a much smaller job like a fender, or perhaps we were spraying in colder climate, then we would use our fast. Slow would be way too slow. So know your temperature, know your paint, and make the right decision. Now enough said, let's get the clear in. Bodie put down a super beautiful coat, man. This thing looks impressive. Now we're gonna wait about a good 10-15 minutes, and a good way we can check to see if it's ready to go is if we touch an area, like not the panel, but a piece of tape, and it's just a little bit tacky, then it's good to go. If it's stringy, I don't really wanna go, but to be honest with you, it's been about 15 minutes since we laid this first set of clear coat on the front of the car, and I gotta say, I'm ready to do the second, so I'm ready to have some fun. Pop you on the head, check out the passes, 85%, gonna go a little bit slower on this second coat, really smooth it in and lay it down. Things should look beautiful when it's all done. All right, so there you have it, guys. We took this whole Miata from 5 different colors to one uniform color, and I gotta say, it looks pretty good. I really hope that you picked up some tips and tricks today on how to paint your car. And just remember, it's not gonna come out perfect. If you try to chase perfection, you're already gonna be behind. Is this perfect right here? No. But it can be polished, and it can be buffed, and it can be 100%. And guys, don't get discouraged if it doesn't look good from the get-go. We're all about learning, and each step here is about getting better. Now, as for Bodie and his channel, he's got a completely different video, and a lot of things that I talked about in my video are not in yours. Now, we got a little bit more technical on what exactly.
Yeah, well, in my video, I wanted to break it down for you guys. I wanted to explain to you and show you the process of how we get a job like this without using a booth. I know a lot of you guys from Paint Society, you see a lot of the paint that's in the booth and it all looks good, but this also looks good.
Yeah.
Is it perfect? No.
Yeah.
But it looks good. It's going to be just fine. If we want to buff a couple of the imperfections out, we can, and I will. But for what we have, it looks good.
Yeah, and you know, it's all about the guys saying, you know, Brian, I don't have a booth, I don't have this. Well, this isn't a booth. We did it on your channel. Check out the video. It's really good. And also check out the build, because this isn't the first video of the series of this build. So
yeah, so the link will be down in the description below. All the videos for this, all the videos for all of my other stuff. We're putting a V8 into a Honda Accord. That's
awesome,
my channel
awesome.
as well. And then when we paint that, maybe you'll come up, maybe I'll bring the car down.
You know what? We'll see what happens. But as for this job, it's done. We're going to let you check it out in a minute. Thanks for letting me come on up.
Thanks for coming.
Hey, and I got to remind you guys, don't overthink it.
It's just paint.
Check it out.